Welcome back to It's All About the Beef. I'm Claire with River Road Farm, and I want to introduce you to my husband, David. We're going to be cooking outside, so he's the chef today. We're going to be cooking a ginormous rib steak, but we call it a cowboy steak because we've left the handle on it. Ta-da!
Today we're going to teach you how to cook steaks over an open fire. If you like meat and you like fire, this is a perfect show for you. This process, cooking over an open fire, will work with any steak, of course. You just have to monitor how long you've got it on the fire. The fire cooks a little differently, a little faster actually. The wood fire is terrific for steak. It gives it a great smokiness that you don't get all the time on your grill. But any steak will work for this process. You always want to taste the meat. And so you don't want to over season it. You want to just start with simple preparation. Some olive oil, salt, and pepper. That's all we do, and it's perfect every time. So we'll just throw it to the center there. And we always want to, if you have enough experience, well then, you can do the touch test and you know when the meat is done. But it's always good to look at your watch. So this steak, which is about 2 inches thick, I'm gonna try it at, I don't know, maybe 4 to 5 minutes on one side, get a nice sear. And then I'm going to flip it, and we're going to probably put it on a cooler part of the grill, and we're going to go for another 3 to 4 minutes. The biggest thing that you have to remember, the one lesson that you can remember, is you can't uncook meat. You can always put it back. If it's a little rare to your liking, you can always put it back, but you can't uncook it. So be conservative with your time.
We're also going to have some lettuce from the farm that I picked this afternoon, along with some radishes and cucumbers, and I'm just going to put oil and vinegar. Like we said, we keep things simple. We want to taste the food. We don't want to cover it up.
I've had this fire going for a good 30 or 40 minutes or so. Start with some great kindling and newspaper. Of course, I cheat with that. Some people are purists and they go with no paper and they use flint. Well, no, I'm going to use a little paper. I'm going to use a torch, and we're going to get that fire going. Now I'm going to throw another log on the fire just to try to get a little bit more heat going right now underneath that steak. I don't hear enough sizzle. It's a good, 8 to 10 inches off the fire, but those flames are starting to lick the meat, and that's what you want. You want to get the flames integrating with the meat.
And the fat.
And the fat. And the fat.
To melt the fat into the meat.
As far as grass-fed steaks go, the marbling on the steak is incredible. A lot of people say, well, grass-fed meat, it's not as tasty, it doesn't have the marbling that I like to see, but this particular steak, and in fact, all the steaks that Claire grows and produces on this farm are absolutely incredible. So the marbling is great.
And that's because we let our animals stay on the field longer than most people do. So the longer they're on there, the longer they can build up their fat reserves.
So don't be afraid at all that the fire is really consuming that meat. You want that, and you don't want to touch it. You're going to be tempted to move it too often if you see this happening. Let the fire interact with the meat. You can flip it in a little bit, and that's what I'll do. I can even move it, but I think it's in a good place right now. Mm-hmm. So I just flipped it after another 3 minutes or so. It's getting good. Again, you can go with the touch test, and it still feels a little rare, although we like it medium rare. Again, you can always put it back. So I think it's getting close to where we're going to pull it off and let it rest and see how it's done. But it's looking really tasty, quite honestly.
Can you see that crust?
Crust is looking great.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
And then we've got the potatoes down here, and Claire did these. She parboiled them inside.
No.
What did you do? You didn't parboil them. What did you do?
So these are actually going to be Hasselback potatoes, which means you've put 1/4-inch cuts throughout, but not all the way through. And I put olive oil, salt, and pepper, which is what we live for around here. In all those little nooks and crannies, and then I baked them in the oven at 350 for 30 minutes. Then I wrapped them in tin foil after I stuffed some of those crevices with blue cheese, which is great with that steak.
You don't need a serious fire pit like this. If you just want to pack up for the weekend and go away and you're camping somewhere, you know, you need a grate, something on which you can put the steak, the burgers, whatever it is you're cooking. And you can get a foldable grate. Look at this, Claire. I flipped it already. Look at
oh my God. Do you think, I think she's done. Let's not overcook it.
I
Concur.
I concur.
All right, so after about, 4 or 5 minutes on one side and 3 or 4 on the other, I'm gonna pull that off and let that rest. I'm gonna let that rest for 2 or 3 minutes, and then we're gonna see if it's the way we like it. If not, we'll put it on for a little bit more, and then we'll enjoy it. Okay, so we just cut into the steak, and to be honest, even though we like it medium rare, just a little bit too rare, to be honest. So we threw it back. As I said earlier, you can't uncook meat. Be conservative, take it off, let it rest, give it a little slice, and you can put it back if it's not to your liking. So that's what we did. It's gonna be on for another minute or so. I'll flip it just so we get some consistency, and it's still gonna be amazing. If you're not comfortable cooking over an open fire, and to be honest, I'm no expert, but I'm not afraid of trying things, you know, you build a great fire. Our steaks are 8 inches or so off the fire, so it's got to be a really hot fire, and you got to watch it, okay? So we're 8 inches or so off the flame. Sometimes the flame kicks higher and licks the meat, which is terrific, gives it a great sear. But you want to cook it, depending upon the thickness of the steak, 1.5 to 2 inch thick steak, you want to cook it 4 to 5 minutes on the first side, and then 3 to 4 on the second side. The thinner the meat, the quicker it's going to cook. But this was a 2-inch steak, and it's going to take a little bit longer than I had anticipated. Okay, so now we're going to take it off the fire. We gave it a second chance, and I think that's going to be absolutely amazing. Again, I want to let it rest. There's the cut. You know, there's no harm, no foul with that. You just had to get into it. Didn't like the way it looked, a little too rare. Threw it on for another 2 minutes, flipped it. Now we're going to let it rest a little bit more, reabsorb those beautiful juices, and we're going to be ready to eat that very soon.